Hello everybody, my name is Joy KahNah and welcome to today's video. As some of you may know, I am a psychic. And so these days I get to connect with my guides and angels and your guides and angels pretty much every single day of the year. I wanted to actually share with you the very first message that I ever consciously received from my guides and angels. And this happened all the way back in 1991 or 1992. And at the time I was about 2 years old, 2.5 years old, and I was just sort of coming into that space where you really kind of start to understand what life is all about, and you start to find your identity, and you start to really be able to understand some of the more complex emotions and things like that. And I remember I was in a car seat in the back of my mom's car, and she was a traveling nurse at the time. And so even though car phones weren't extremely popular at that time, she happened to have one. And she was talking on the phone, I'm not sure to who, I think one of her sisters, and she was talking about her mom dying. And yes, my mom's mother, so she would have been my grandmother, she actually died completely unexpectedly and suddenly while boarding an airplane in, I think, 1986. She was going to fly to see her very first grandchild, and she just completely collapsed and died instantly. My mom was talking to this person on the phone about her mom dying, and you know, she was really sad. I think it must have been like the anniversary of her own mother's death, and she was talking about how hard it was to lose her mother. And all of a sudden I felt really sad. You know, I'm an empath. I think a lot of you watching are empaths too, and so I feel really deeply, and I felt my mom's pain. And for the first time I also had the thought, what if my mom dies? You know, before that I had always thought, oh, she's my mom, she's, you know, the best mom, and I love her so much, and she's always going to be here. But then all of a sudden I'm like 2.5 years old, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can I survive without my mom? What'll I do if I lose my mom? And I started to get kind of really upset, you know, and I felt that sadness rising within me. And clear as day, I heard in my awareness, you know, those of you who have clairaudience, you kind of know when the angels or guides speak to you, it's not as if you hear it spoken out loud, like you would with your friends and family, but it's like it comes into your stream of awareness, and it's in a very different voice than your own inner voice. So anyway, so it was like that, and it was clear as day, and they said, everything happens for a reason. And, you know, it had a profound impact on me because I still remember it to this day. You know, we were just pulling into our driveway, and it was just like they had spoken, you know, everything happens for a reason. And all of a sudden I was sort of flooded with this sense of peace, and I was no longer afraid. And I knew in that moment, yeah, it's sad that I'll never get to meet Grandma, but she died for a reason. Like, it happened for a reason. Like, it wasn't just, you know, something bad that happened. Like, there was a higher reason behind it, and there's more to it. And I just, even more than the words, I felt in that moment the truth that nothing occurs randomly in our lives, that like everything that occurs is happening in accordance with a higher divine plan. And in some ways, the message, everything happens for a reason, is still one of the most comforting and enduring messages that I've ever received from my guides and angels. And it guides me in my understanding of life every single day. Everything really does happen for a reason, especially when it comes to death and dying. One thing that I know for sure is that everybody goes in perfect timing. In other words, nobody ever leaves this planet before it is their time. If you ever listen to like near-death accounts and and things like that, it becomes very, very obvious that nobody departs before their time. Because if something weird happens and you so happen to die before it is your time, you better believe that you will be sent back. And that's why people do die, and they do come back to life. I have come to understand as a psychic and just as a human being that there is a divine order to all things. And when we're here on the planet and we're walking through life, a lot of things can appear to be really random. But in moments where I've been able to elevate my consciousness to a much higher level, and I'm so grateful for these moments, I'm suddenly able to see why everything had to happen the way that it does. And when you reach an exalted state of consciousness, you can see, oh my gosh, nothing was random. All these little events in my life brought me to this perfect place that I'm at right now. And so as you walk through life, remember that no matter how random things seem, that there is a divine order behind all that is occurring. And it's a perfect order. It's almost like a scientific order that underlays everything. When we go through life, it can be easy to feel like we are making mistakes. You know, we can look back on our lives and be like, I made a mistake, or we can be judgmental of our friends and family and believe that they've made mistakes or they've messed up or things like that. And what I've learned from my guides and angels is that there are no mistakes. There are no mistakes. When you really understand that everything happens for a reason, you come to know that things that look like failures, that look like mistakes, were needed for some higher reason. And I think it's a beautiful understanding when we really embody it and embrace it, because finally we can forgive ourselves and forgive others, knowing that sometimes we're guided in directions that look like mistakes because those failures or those mistakes were needed to maybe get us on a new path or get somebody else on a new path, or to learn a really, really critical lesson. Embrace the truth that everything in life has a purpose. And it's usually what I've learned from my guides and angels is that everything that occurs, it usually doesn't just have one purpose. Oftentimes, like during readings, people will ask me, what was the purpose of this or that happened in my life? And I'm just stunned, because usually the person's guides and angels will give like 100 purposes. Like, oh, it was for this, it meant this to this person, it meant this to you, and it catalyzed this, and this. And yeah, there's just tremendous meaning and sanctity in our lives, and we can belittle ourselves so much and just say, oh, my life has no meaning, there's no purpose here in my life, I'm just drifting. But it's not true. There is purpose and reason in your being, and every little thing that you do, even in this exact moment, and you watching this video, everything happens for a reason. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Never forget that everything that has occurred in perfect divine timing and harmony, in accordance with a much more intelligent, higher divine plan that is so profound that it often cannot even be comprehended by our logical minds. So yes, guys, everything happens for a reason. You can exhale, you can relax, all is well, and have a wonderful day. Thank you all for watching, and namaste. Bye.